Hello, welcome to another live Google Hangout on the Living Income Guaranteed. Today we are discussing Living Income Guaranteed and political campaigning. Today it is that time when we will be looking at, in a more practical way, how can we get from the point of living income as a proposal by the Equal Life Foundation and onto the ground and into the actual first point, which is that political platform, the creation of either a political group, political party, or simply creating that awareness at grassroots level of what it is that we can do with this proposal when it is taken onto a political platform. So to discuss that, we have as a guest Joel Cabrera from New York in the US. Hi, Joel.
Hey.
Welcome to the Hangout. Thanks for being here. And so let's begin first with how you found the Living Income Guaranteed proposal and why did you decide to support it?
I just found it through my own research on a solution for the world's problem on a realistic and global level. So through my search, that's what I found. I found as something as well similar called, universal basic income and other forms of, negative income tax, for example, that are very similar to living income, but I feel living income is a better, more thought out plan that would actually help for all. But I'm still learning, to be honest, and yeah, I just want to delve deeper into this.
Great. Yeah, in essence, what we have found is that in terms of politics, we live in a system that works with very defined bipartisan mentality, in essence, where for example, in the US you have Republicans and Democrats, and people kind of don't get out of that paradigm. So in terms of the Living Income Guaranteed as a proposal that can be taken onto politics, what would you say would be required to, as a first step, to create the awareness about being able to think outside of the box, so to speak?
Well, for example, the first thing that comes into my mind is the Occupy movement, for example. Occupy Wall Street that started here in New York City. I feel like it will have to be within something of that magnitude to launch a campaign such as that, and to actually have direction this time, opposed to being all over the place. I feel it'll have to start with people actually becoming aware of the fact that there is a solution to all these global issues that stem from economic inequality, and that doesn't have to be referred to as communism, and nor all of the aspects of communism, but more or less of an integration between what works in communism and in capitalism at the same time, and to just find ways to implement that into a system that doesn't leave no one behind, homeless, for example.
Yeah, exactly. That's also part of the usual ideas. For example, when someone hears providing a living income to every individual, it's like, wait a minute, but that's communism. I bet you also found that kind of feedback from people, maybe. And I mean, we have to clarify that it's none at all socialism or communism or else. It is about making the current capitalist system to work in a way wherein living rights are guaranteed, respected, and given to every individual in its respective ways, which means, as you were saying, not leaving someone homeless without access to food, and also, for example, elevating or upgrading labor conditions, higher wages, which are also campaigns that have been going on in the US in separate manners and maybe through individuals within politics, as which is creating, the general awareness that I agree it did start with Occupy Wall Street, but it kind of went pointless from there. It was like, as you were saying, all over the place. So what have you done because you're interested in the promotional, the actual campaigning process for Living Income Guarantee? So what have you developed in terms of this social marketing that you're planning in essence for Living Income Guarantee proposal?
Well, I made a social marketing campaign for actually a school assignment. I took advantage of the fact that I had to do a school assignment, and I used Living Income as my assignment to learn more about the subject and its implementation. One moment, please. Sorry about that.
Okay, as a reminder to our viewers, and there's questions and comments open for everyone, so let us know if you'd like to share with us something that's open.
Sorry about that. It's a lot of family in the house.
Sure.
What was I? All right, yes. Basically, it's called CUNY. If you're from New York, whoever's watching this, will pretty much know what I'm talking about as far as CUNY goes. So it's about CUNY is a college institution basically that has about 15 different colleges around the city, affordable colleges, and it's filled with students from all around the world. So it'll be very representative as far as getting a whole bunch of different perspectives in one geographical region. To be aware of what living income is and actually help support its implementation through the political system that we currently have on a national level through Congress and the Senate, for example, specifically in the United States and even abroad. But yeah, the social marketing campaign would be implemented through, for example, holding workshops in the colleges, just events on just distribution of information and how students can help support getting Congress to become aware of this and to start a process of actually putting it into legislation as a goal.
Yeah, for example, there I would also suggest that because it's kind of difficult to maybe get people from the current governments to accept living income for whichever reason, you can also then at the same time, now that you are like kind of joining in and gathering the people and having these reunions, which is what's required because in this society, everyone is living like in the smartphone mentality, everyone is to oneself and we don't really communicate. Maybe we are aware of the problems and we talk a lot about everything that's wrong in the system, but we don't actually come together to create solutions. So I do see that, for example, the workshop idea is a cool way, a gathering and discussing about what can be done. But from there, it can also be kind of like the platform already for the creation of a political party, because what you require is massive awareness of people about the solutions. So which other method have you thought about as well?
Well, as far as starting it from living it through like a student movement, that's all I've really focused on within the project that I did. Well, apart from that, just getting more people involved. I feel like that's what's going to be necessary. Just spreading the information to as much people as possible and getting those who actually want to become involved more to actually become involved more, learn more about it, and brainstorm and just keep putting energy into it so that it can keep expanding and expanding.
And have you already discussed the proposal with your political acquaintances, people around you, friends or else, and what has their feedback been?
Well, I would say a lot of people actually like it and want to know more. Just very interesting to them, and a lot of people immediately connected with, oh, whoa, that's socialism. No,
Yeah, the
But
usual red fears, right?
yeah, um, but yeah, I feel it comes down to education. Becoming more educated on the topic and how it actually affects a wide variety of issues that we live in. I feel that I feel a good thing that could possibly be implemented as well is research done by, let's say, higher education institutions, so they can have a legitimate and well-respected um, background as far as an academic sense on how this actually would be functionable, in its implementation, and that way it will give credibility to other people. Okay, this is actually real. This is not just a wacky idea put together by a group of people. Is the connection good right now?
Anthony, or not?
Hello?
Yeah, I lost you a little bit, but not sure if it's only me or if everyone else was able to hear you. But for now, can you just repeat the very last bit for myself?
Which one, where did you catch me at? I don't know where exactly it cut off.
Well, just the last part. That's the last bit that I didn't get.
Oh yeah, yeah, just having this maybe done research by higher education institutions or other organizations so that it legitimizes the proposal and its implementation, that it could be a realistic thing. And as far as on an academic level, I feel it would just give a high level of respect for what it is, opposed to just it being an idea.
Yeah,
And
for sure. And yeah,
so,
go ahead. Um, for example, in our consideration, what can be said about that, like research done by some institution and so forth? That's kind of like also the point of living income guarantee, that we are a proposal, a set of principles that can be taken to the political arena by virtually anyone that decides to do so. So, for example, Joe, in your case, you could actually be the one, in your own education that gets to be that, to do that research and take it as part of your career as well. And because we actually do require, like, this is the platform and one of the aims within ourselves as an organization, as Equal Life Foundation, to kind of present the solution, but also have each one kind of also taking the responsibility of looking at how we will implement it and what can I do to legitimize it, for example, as a proposal from an institutional level, or what you're already doing, which is just as something as an assignment for your education to take on this idea of how the living income can be part of people's education, so that you create an awareness of what can be done in real life, in essence. So these are things that uh, you are presenting here as examples of what can people start doing in their own uh, context, in their own countries or even cities, as you're doing right now. And so, anything else that you'd like to add?
well, I feel as far as me personally, I plan to continue my education within economics and international affairs so that I can implement um, living income guarantee. To be honest with you, um, yeah, just connecting it and just becoming as much informed on the subject as possible, so that you can have a greater amount of knowledge and actually power, because you'll be so informed on the subject and how to maneuver through the political process, for example. And how to just do it? Yeah, just putting energy into it, just putting time and effort into actually expanding the idea.
And connecting to people as well, which is something that you mentioned that you're already doing. That's also very important. We live in, as I was saying, in this culture of how we only live as individuals in isolated bubbles where we don't really communicate about these things. many people are really not interested at all. They hear politics and it's like hearing the devil's voice. You don't want to know anything about it. And that's kind of part of the problem, in essence, why there's a lot of apathy and just the entire disbelief or distrust of the political system at the moment, which kind of makes sense, of course, because we know that it hasn't worked. That's obvious, but we have also lacked that aspect of taking responsibility for ourselves. And so now, instead of asking the politicians for a change, we have to create it. And living income guaranteed as a proposal is precisely that. It's giving what, for example, Occupy Wall Street could take as is and organize as a political party, which, from my perspective, I'll be very honest here, maybe that movement got infiltrated and didn't get to that stage of creating a political party, for example, and really legitimize that power that people have united and a massive amount of people. So here is a reminder for everyone that we always say that the solution will be at a political level, not by opposing the system, not by protesting, it's not by antagonizing or apathy and not wanting to do anything with politics. What's your perspective? I mean, tell us more about yourself, because in terms of getting to that point of wanting to implement this kind of solutions, it's not as easy for a regular person to get to this point. So what went on in your life, or what do you see around you that got you to this point of, I want to create a solution?
Well, what got me personally to the point where it was just, I got to a point in my life where I'll just hit rock bottom. And, once you start seeking answers to why things occur in your life, for example, and why is this occurring on almost a universal level, as far as negative situations and circumstances that people wouldn't want to be in. Start looking for the answers, and through my search for answers, I eventually came to living income guaranteed as a solution for these issues. And it's, I feel like the issues are so common and such as the basic needs. That's what this is about. Getting the basic needs met for the people. Like, we have so much technology, we have so much resources that can solve the issue of getting people to meet at least the basic necessities of life in order to prosper. Well, yet the system that we live in is not allowing that. It's not supporting that. So this is why we need to change that, obviously. And this is why I'm putting my energy into it, 100%, and just bringing everyone along with it. Just developing plans. It's all about developing strategies and actually implementing them. So that's what I would say I want to put my brother.
Yeah, many of us as humanity are kind of, there's said to be like this awakening to be kind of finding out the actuality of how things are run in our societies. But what we've also encountered is that many people go into complete the notion of, for example, getting out of the system, getting off the grid, or see only protesting and resistance as a solution, civil disobedience, and all of that. But that's not the way. I mean, you're not going to empower yourself or others if you really want to support others through that. So this is certainly, as you were mentioning, you were in that, hitting that rock bottom in your life. So you got to a solution and decided to be part of it and to join in, because that is what you see makes sense. And that's precisely also what we want to create in each other as individuals, as humanity, not as from a particular nation or a particular city only, but to empower ourselves within the realization that there are solutions that can be implemented if we work together. So I fully agree with the aspect that you mentioned that is required as a first point, which is communication, interaction, establishing relationships with people that might be, maybe from the Occupy movement, who knows, that they are already very aware of the problem, and they can now get to, seeing a solution that is not a drastic change, such as abolishing the Fed or on other points that might be going on as potential solutions, but simply create a plan that is applicable as an immediate solution to the current way in which the system is running, which is something that is also what I suggest, for example, in this social marketing process to ensure to let people know that it is not like you will lose something. It's the other way around. It's just having your living and basic human rights guaranteed by virtue of us agreeing to give it to each other. So tell us more about, when you look at people right now, people your age, um, do you see that there is this like genuine interest in solutions, or what about political awareness? What's the current vox populi, so to speak, about these topics?
Actually, I feel that I'm 22 right now, and I actually do feel that I feel like the majority of, let's say, my population, my age population, are actually intrigued on the political system as far as social issues. I would say, I would say that there is a part of actually everyone, to be honest with you, that cares about people, you know, and it's just a matter of focusing on that point within everyone, and at the same time having knowledge instilled in them as to our current state of of living and inequality in the world, and why this is all happening, where is this all coming from, and why, and then presenting living income as a solution. I feel like just making things more simple, but even though it's such a complicated matter.
Yeah, I mean, when you start getting information about how the world system operates, it can be kind of a lengthy process as well. I mean, not everyone has the time to study at length how everything really works and what can be really done. So that's why we have also, in our endeavor, tried to simplify in some essential steps what can be done at the moment to alleviate and begin alleviating that process of which is currently in decay, of our societies, of our economy. I mean, nothing is really working, political system, no one trusts it. But it's because we have allowed also a few individuals to be in control of it instead of us, the people that are actually understanding what are the flaws because we are living it, becoming part of that political system. So I would certainly suggest, for example, as you continue with your endeavor of social marketing on the living income guaranteed, that you actually create this awareness of the real power of people that exists when you realize that you have to be the one that implements a solution, that actually steps in and gets involved as you're doing right now. We have a question from Anna, and she's saying, what is your perspective on using social media for political campaigning, and also how to then bring it from the virtual world into the real world?
Well, I feel that how to bring it to an idea or a virtual world online to the real world is simply by taking action, just simply taking action on it. It could even be as far as just talking to someone about it, or hold it together in an event. I feel like that's it. Talking to people about it and actually organizing. That's it. It's simple. To be honest, yeah, simple. Talking and organizing and action.
Yeah, I mean, it's also such a simple thing, which we haven't done, and I repeat it, this has been also part of the studies throughout history, that the real enemy is not really the one that controls or a tyrant or a dictator, but our apathy to work together, because we don't actually join in as it was done maybe a long time ago. I mean, not that our political system has ever really worked in favor of people, but it was just that aspect of having even a place to gather for such purposes of discussing politics and what's the current state of our education and all the rest of topics that should be of our most interest. But right now, also, unfortunately, our culture has been so pervasive as to deliberately make us complacent, apathetic, and simply not really caring about this topic. So I do agree with the aspect of talking to people and creating these events. And also, yes, Anna's mentioning the social media aspect, which is something that we do because we are a global organization. We cannot be doing this, but the idea is, of course, that once that you get the idea from the internet and from the global networking, so to speak, that people now, as some are already doing, take part in politics and integrate themselves either into existing political parties or begin one from scratch, start one from scratch. So thanks for your question, Anna. So what else would you like to share in relation to, for example, what you see is the most, let's say, what makes living income guarantee proposal different to any other proposal that you read or any other solution that you came through as you were doing your research?
Well, opposed from, let's say, universal basic income, it's means tested, which means that not everyone, like if you're already rich, you don't really need more money. So, and as well as far as its implementation, I feel like I still have space to learn on as far as how to, for example, the nationalization of resources. I feel that alone would be a major point in its implementation as far as politically, because people will automatically associate it with socialism. Um, and so it's just it goes back to educating yourself and others on the topic, which is I feel is the most powerful thing. Education. Just the more you're informed about a certain issue, um, the more power you have. But yeah, I feel all of this goes back to education, organizing, and action.
And
So,
also, for example, in the nationalization aspect, we have to also consider that when we talk about things that can be related to things in the past that didn't work, we cannot judge the thing for what it was within the context that it was implemented in. We know that socialism, communism was never intended to create any form of dignified living to anyone, really, but rather do the opposite. So it can be also understood as becoming the shareholders, as citizens, shareholders of the main companies that manage resources, natural resources in our countries. And within that context, it is something that can be done because many other countries have done it without having to necessarily link it to the usual. But as you were mentioning, it is about informing yourself of how also not to be conditioned, in essence, by what one word means. Because we know that that's also part of the obstacles, because we've encountered them ourselves when it comes to explaining these points and people immediately linking it to what has been done before. But this is just once again to make it clear that our aim is not at all control or people, for example, in nationalization, sorry, what happens is that, yes, if the government is the usual few that take control of everything, of course it won't work. But if the right people, meaning the majority of the people, are able to, for example, through direct democracy, decide how things are managed, then it will be definitely different. So we have to make ourselves present in the political system, of course, because if the government remains in the same position as it is right now, of course it won't work. So this all goes within the context of living income guaranteed proposal, which implies also direct democracy, if possible. Because in the US, you have representative democracy. So as you were mentioning, you go on to your congressman and tell them about this proposal, but it's very unlikely that they will even pay attention or hear. So that's why we also suggest that a new political platform has to be created and established. That's also for you and your expansion also, because the moment that we continue living in that paradigm of I can only vote for red or blue or whichever, then we kind of fall into the same old paradigm. So we have to break through that, think outside of the box, and start from the grassroots level, as they say, in terms of the political activism, we like to call it, which is either the creation of a political party or integrating oneself into a political party that can integrate the living income guaranteed as part of its main proposals. So we're about to end this hangout. So would you like to add any other last points to, I don't know, maybe suggestions for others or any other point of information that you'd like to know about the living income? For sure, bring it on.
I feel. I think was that a question that just came up?
Yes, it's coming now. Let me read it. It's from you now for you. We have 27 likes on Facebook for Living Income Guaranteed. Is there a way we can contact them and ask if they would like to be in a brainstorming group for implementation ideas? So for this, yeah, I mean, we can, and we have been sharing information as always in the Facebook page, blogs. These hangouts are part of this page as well. But as Joel was mentioning, and it's a very cool idea, is that the contact has to be made like at that physical and local level, which is being done, for example, in places like Slovenia or the Netherlands and mostly in Europe at the moment, but not yet in America. So Joel can be like the starting point in New York for this movement, for sure. And yeah, I mean, we have to also consider that Facebook is the global networking platform, as we were mentioning, so we have to always land it back into reality. So this will be not really about handling all those 27,000 people that are all scattered around the world, but rather being able to use maybe the Facebook platform as a way to have people connect to each other and say, well, I'm also interested in this, so let's unite and start working on it together. Because that's the aim as well, as Joel was mentioning, getting to that personal, physical, conversational contact. So thanks for the question or comment. So you were going to say something before that.
Yeah, I feel as far as the implementation of this goes, it would be there's the three key things about which are education, um, organization, and action. So, especially here in New York, I definitely feel because New York is such a representative of the global population, as far as all the people that live here, uh, and the diversification. So that I feel like, yeah, that's what it comes down to, just educate. Like I'm still learning every day, so but yeah, education, organizing, and action. That's it. That's it.
And having also that disposition as you're having, so that's already a great example to many that as you're 22 years old, quite young, and that's where we want to also begin at, because that's where people are mostly, keen on investigating solutions, what can be done outside of the old paradigms, which is what we're all about. Paradigm shift is what living income guaranteed is, in fact. And with that comes a change of mentality, the change of consciousness, so to speak, to realize that we have to take responsibility for this mess that we have been living in as our world system, and that a solution is not that far away if we actually unite and work together on it. So, Joel, thanks a lot for being with us today, and we hope to have you maybe some other time again sharing about how your project is going. Thanks for also sharing with us your disposition to become part of the Living Income Guaranteed team in New York. Can people contact you, for conversation or contact you?
Sure. Could contact me in my email or just simply add me on Facebook, Joel Cabrera. My email address is.
We can give it in the information section if you want, so that people can just copy paste it. So I will make sure that it's there for everyone in New York City. So thanks a lot for watching, everyone, and thanks to Joel for your time. And remember to subscribe if you haven't yet to this channel, and we'll see you next time for another live Google Hangout every single Sunday on the Living Income Guaranteed. Thanks for watching. Bye, Joel.
Bye.